He was running for this life, men shouting and running after him. The island was full of wild plants and bushes, injuring him from head to toe, but he kept running. The moment he stopped to catch his breath, the sound of bushes, as someone was getting closer and closer, made him run again with the fear of being caught. Nowhere to run, he climbed the tree and hid himself in the leaves. The men kept looking for him, but after some time, they left. He could see them leave from the top of the tree. He was again left in isolation, all alone. All he could hear was the sound of the waves splashing against the shore and the birds chirping. But what actually happened? Who was he? And whom was he running from? Well, to understand what happened, we'll have to start from the beginning. It was the 1700s, when the world was sparsely populated. There were no means of instant communication. With violent crimes, war, and incurable diseases, it was a miracle for someone to live for more than 50 years. Around that time, a boy named Alexander Selkirk was born at a poor cobbler's house. As he grew older, he became known for his rebelliousness and quarrelsome nature. He was often called in for his behavior. To escape from this situation, he decided to take to the sea and became a Scottish privateer. While living at sea, Selkirk fought against the French and the Spanish during the War of Spanish Succession. And let me tell you a fun fact. Many historians consider this war the First World War. So it made Selkirk an experienced sailor, due to his hard work. Selkirk soon became the sailing master of a ship called Cinque Ports. However, he was working under Captain Thomas Stradling, known for his egoistic, arrogant attitude. On the other hand, Selkirk was also not some innocent man. Soon both of them became sworn enemies. Now you must be thinking, why am I telling you about Selkirk? Was he the man running for his life? And what role does Stradling play in this story? So it was September 1704, and the ship needed to resupply fruits and other resources. Stradling decided to stop the ship at an island in the Juan Fernandez archipelago. The island, known as Isla Mas a Tierra, was completely devoid of human life. Now, as you already know about the relationship between Selkirk and Stradling, their arguments were nothing out of the blue. This time it was regarding the seaworthiness of the ships. Selkirk was not satisfied by the current condition of the ship. He was worried that the ship would sink before returning home, and traveling in the ship would be nothing but suicide. Stradling, however, rejected his concern. This in return frustrated Selkirk to the point where he angrily said, "I would rather be marooned on Isla Mas a Tierra than set foot on the leaky ship again." Stradling took his words literally. He handed Selkirk a few supplies and granted his wish to stay on the island. That was when Selkirk realized his mistake and tried to get back on the ship. However, it felt like Stradling was waiting for a chance to get rid of Selkirk. He refused to let Selkirk get on board and sailed, leaving Selkirk behind with nothing but few supplies. What would happen to Selkirk now? Also, what about the ship? Was Selkirk's claim true, or did he raise that issue for nothing? Well, as Stradling sailed away, leaving Selkirk in isolation on the deserted island, he felt joy in his heart, leaving his sworn enemy behind in misery. However, what he did not realize is that his decision was solely based on his differences with Selkirk. He didn't just put his life in danger, but also his crew members. On the other hand, Selkirk thought maybe it's better to stay on the island with plenty of water and food resources than on the ship that may sink at any moment in the middle of the ocean. And this is exactly what happened. Soon after leaving Selkirk, the ship, due to its bad condition, sank near the coast of Peru, leaving 8 out of 41 people alive. Those who survived, including Captain Stradling, managed to swim to the nearby island. You can call it fate or their punishment. They were then captured by Spaniards and were imprisoned where the Spaniards put them in a closed dungeon and used them very barbarously. Due to the Spaniards' brutal behavior, out of 8, only Stradling survived, and managed to escape from them, returning to Britain. Now that you know that Stradling didn't just go back untouched, he was punished for his actions. Let's get back to Selkirk and what he did on the island to survive. Being left alone at the island, Selkirk didn't take it such a big deal. He thought, soon a ship will pass through and he could hitch a ride. But it was not as simple as he thought. All he was left with was a musket, gunpowder, a knife, a Bible, bedding, a few tools, and tobacco. Initially, he spent his time on the shoreline, waiting for any passing by ships. During that time, he ate spiny lobsters, suffering from all the loneliness, remorse, and misery. Later, a large number of sea lions drove him to the island's interior. There, to his luck, his life took a turn for the better. More food was available there. The goats, left by the earlier sailors, provided him with milk and meat. The wild turnip, cabbage, and pepper berries offered for him with spices. On the other hand, the island was also infested with a large number of rats. This became a problem for him, as when he tried to sleep at night, the rats would attack him. He soon found the solution to this problem. The island also had a large population of cats. He domesticated many of the cats by providing them with food. In return, the cats would hang out round his campsite and sleep near him. That kept the rats at bay. Now that Selkirk has settled, how long will he have to wait for the rescue? And if he had settled, then who was the boy running for his life? During his time on the island, Selkirk proved resourceful in using the material he found on the island. He built a knife with the barrel hoops, built 2 huts out of pepper trees, out of which one he used for cooking and the second for sleeping. He used his musket to hunt goats and his knife to clean their carcasses. As his gunpowder finished, he had to chase prey on foot. But he didn't just live comfortably. His life was threatened twice. Once, while chasing a goat on foot, he fell from a cliff, injuring himself badly. However, to his luck, he landed on the goat he was chasing and saved himself from major spinal injury. Due to the fall, he remained unconscious for almost a day and was nearly senseless for another 2 days. The goat, on the other hand, died instantly due to the impact. The second time his life was threatened was when a ship came by. Initially, he thought that finally the help came. But soon he realized that the people aboard were Spanish and ran for his life as they shot at him. The Spanish kept chasing him until he hid in one of the trees. After searching for him for a while, eventually they gave up on the hunt and left. Again, Selkirk was left with nothing but loneliness. So, will there be no rescue? Will Selkirk have to spend all his life in loneliness? Well, on February 2nd, 1907, after almost 4 years and 4 months, finally, an English privateering ship called the Duke, which included famed explorer William Dampier and was led by Woodes Rogers, anchored near the island. Selkirk saw the ship and revealed himself to the crew through a signal fire. Several of the crew members on board were suffering from scurvy, and Selkirk set about supplying them with needed food. Selkirk caught 2 to 3 goats a day and helped restore the health of Rogers' men who had developed scurvy. After 1,583 days without human company, Selkirk was almost incoherent with joy. Captain Rogers was impressed by Selkirk's physical stamina, but also by the peace of mind he had attained by living on the island. And in return for his efforts, Rogers made Selkirk the second mate of the ship. Later, he gave Selkirk a ship of his own. So now that Selkirk is rescued, did he go back home? What was everyone's reaction to his return? After being rescued, Selkirk didn't go home, but remained at the sea pondering jewels and gold from the Spanish. After several years, he headed back to English. And for the next decade, he enjoyed his life as a local celebrity. Selkirk soon realized that this dull life was not for him, so he decided to take to the sea again for another privateering voyage. Unfortunately, in 1721, Selkirk contracted yellow fever at the coast of Africa. He later passed away on the ship at the age of 55 and was buried at sea. Later, the island Isla Masa Tierra was renamed Robinson Crusoe. However, another nearby island was named Alexander Selkirk Island in his honor. What do you think? Did he actually contract yellow fever, or did someone make up this story to hide the real truth?